What is up, everybody? Jacob here, back again, and I know it's been a long time, but we are officially back and better than ever. So many of you may know, if you follow me on some of my other socials, that we moved into this space a year ago. That's been going so well that we actually took over the other side of the warehouse here, practically doubling our space. In this center section here, there was a bunch of shelving that we ripped out. This was only like a couple weeks ago. We opened up this door frame here to connect the main part of the warehouse here to the center to make it more, well, to make it flow a little bit better when customers actually come in here. I mean, look at this. We even have a rug rack over here for all of our area rugs that my dad built. Always save money because we used all those shelves we tore out to build this. It came with a bunch of galvanized piping, which I think just fits the flow and the vibe of the space really well. And then moving on to the front section here, these are the items that more or less, when you're in a store, they might be a little easier to steal. We got a bunch of women's apparel over here. We do have some sofas and sectionals up here as well, but we do have a bunch of sound bars and speakers over here. A whole display case full of miscellaneous electronics and name brand headphones. I mean, look at this. We even have our own custom built counter that me and my dad made. And if you haven't gotten the idea already, yes, we are more like a retail store now instead of just flipping out of a storage unit. We went and picked up this really nice square system from someone on Facebook for like $300. And let me tell you, if you're flipping couches, you get into like the retail section or whatever, start with this, because a majority of my sales nowadays are all on credit card. Just, it's more convenient for people. So this whole system has been helping out a lot. And if you know where to look, like I said, I only got this whole setup for $300. That's the whole printer, the register, all that good stuff, and it's the newest model. Oh yeah, and then over here we even have some nice TV stand, fireplaces, and dressers, and a good mixture of stuff over there. So as you may be able to tell, we have definitely leveled up our game quite a bit. Let me go ahead, break some numbers down for you, and explain how we got to where we are. All right, now obviously a lot has happened since my last video we uploaded a year ago. In that video, we were talking about how we upgraded and started a business officially and started all of this B stock liquidation stuff. And when moving into that space, I was hoping to make a lot more videos explaining the whole process and how to actually grow the business, because obviously I wanted to document everything. But with a larger influx of inventory, staying busier with cleaning couches as well as flipping consistently, while also having a 9-to-5 job, really made it hard to pick up the camera, record, and then sit down for hours and edit videos. We do have a lot of content stockpiled from back then, and we even have videos that I started and almost finished editing, but after so long of being away from YouTube, I didn't want to play catch up and edit a bunch of stuff. So I figured let's go ahead and just jump to now and show you where I'm at. Jumping back to where we were, even in the second to last video, was the last video we showed our channel's net worth, which was sitting at about $11,000. All in all, around the last video we made, the update video, I'd say we were probably sitting around 20,000 after we flipped through that first initial B stock inventory, if not maybe a little bit more or a little less. And over the last year, we have grown that upwards of close to 100,000. And obviously it's been fluctuating as taking on the new space, taking on larger investments. We're spending a lot more, but we're also making a lot more. So let's go ahead and just run through some of the numbers over the last month, 2-3 months, even last year's. Now, obviously I'm a smaller channel. I'm not sponsored, but this is why I highly recommend using Square when starting a business like this. If you hop into the Square app, in your More section, you can click Reports, and here you can see your reports from your day to the week, month, the last 3 months, even the last year. Now, obviously we got the Square system partway through last year, so it doesn't show the running total of last year's revenue, but you can see in our graph on the right, it shows previous year was $80,471. However, realistically, last year we ended up making $183,000, and that's just from flipping furniture. That's not taking into account my 9-to-5 job or anything like that. That's merely B-stock furniture, buying, getting shipped to us, fixing, cleaning, and reselling. Now, obviously that sounds like a good number, but realistically our profit margin sat around $40,000, give or take a little bit, because we did have some other financial obligations and other investments that we did pour into. And I'm gonna announce it here, we did buy our first property. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later or in another video. But again, hopping back into the Square app, you can see currently so far this year, we are at $131,882 in just gross sales this year. And we are set to actually shatter last year's record because we're estimating our total revenue this year to be over $300,000, which is absolutely crazy because it's just me, my girlfriend, and my dad helping out from time to time. And then obviously with a higher projected gross revenue means a higher projected profit. Profit margins are a little bit harder to guesstimate, but we do have a calculation that we made within our Google Sheet. So let me kind of just double check that and see where we're at. All in all, with the large amount of expenses that we just took on over just the last month, taking on that other side, again, it is a little hard to tell, but we should estimately make about the same, if not just a little bit more. That's not meaning that I'm making the wrong decisions. That's just the fact that business does take a while before it starts making profit. Most businesses don't actually profit in their first 5 years of being open. Just so you're aware, keep that in mind. And we're hitting year 2 of officially having the LLC up and running. So with us already that far into the profit margins, I say long-term wise, there's plenty of room for growth. I wouldn't imagine that maybe even this year we could hit 500K if we really tackled all the projects and kind of just went buck wild with it. And let's zoom in a little bit for this one. Before we got into the liquidation stuff, our monthly expenses on rent and utilities, I guess, as well as inventory was well below $1,000. But we were only generating maybe $1,000 in profit, if that. When we first started getting into the liquidation stuff, we had limited space before we took over the second unit. And even having both of those, it was much harder to run back and forth between inventory as well as sell as a business and charge tax. So back then we were only spending about 5 to maybe 7 to 8,000 a month on inventory, and that's including our unit rent and stuff like that. So our max expense rate back then was like pushing 7,000 at most. And now basing the numbers off just January to now, our average expense rate is $24,000. That's of course including rent, utilities, and then very famously, of course, my camera ran out of storage. If you've been a follower of the channel, you know it dies, and that happens a lot. Now with those expense numbers, I would say take those a little bit lightly, because with taking on this extra space, we had to fill it up, obviously. So we spent $40,000 just last month alone. And according to last month's expenses, we are $8,000 in the hole just from last month. But obviously with that, we have a bunch of inventory from our patio furniture that's new in box, all of our area rugs, obviously all of the longer term investments and flips like the women's apparel, the electronics, stuff like that. Their upfront cost is a little bit more and our profit margins are slimmer, but to fill up space, we needed stuff like that in order to make, you know, just a little bit more money and make it look pretty in here. And we'll be doing more consistent updates on profit margins and stuff like that based from month to month, maybe week to week, depending on how much we actually start uploading again. But one thing I did want to bring up is something new that we have been doing for, I want to say almost a year now, and that is actually hiring outside help for our deliveries. I'll blur out the information, but we've started to fill out these customer information forms that basically just help us line up deliveries and timing and stuff like that. And I coordinate with a local delivery business to run a lot of these deliveries. They're actually a small business owner, kind of like myself. That's why I went with them. And they're actually on their way here now to pick up a few deliveries that we have. So we're pretty much just waiting on them to get here. And if you're in the Bloomington Normal area and you need delivery services, I highly suggest you use them. The owner's name is Chris. He's a really great guy. I'll throw their logo up on the screen here as well as their contact information. Haul It Movers Plus has helped out for months and months now with a lot of these deliveries, and I highly recommend them. Anyway, that's probably where we're gonna end today's video while we're waiting on them. But if you have any more specific questions about why I choose to get specific items, let me know down below and I'll break down all of the numbers. And within future videos, we'll be a little more in depth on our cost per goods per units, as well as our sale price and why we are doing what we're doing. In the meantime, if you want to support me in the business, look up Wholesale Warehouse on Facebook. That is what we have changed the name to. I think we're about 20 followers shy of 800, which is absolutely insane that we've started a couch group that big, and we actually have a customer base now. Compared to about 2.5, 3 years ago, we were selling out of a 10 by 10 storage unit. So obviously when you see something like this, know it's possible by yourself. I mean, I'm still like 280-pound fat guy flipping furniture, and I've grown a 6-figure business out of it. But again, leave your questions, your comments down below. We will see you in the next one. Peace.